everyone, and welcome to the Ayurvedic Therapist podcast. I am super blessed and excited today to have my friend Jaclyn here from Jaclyn Shaw Show. She's an incredible life coach. She's the most incredible life coach I know. And we have been so incredibly blessed to get to know each other this year, mostly in the jungle, living in Nosara, Costa Rica. And welcome, Jaclyn. I'm so happy you're here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I feel like this conversation has been a long time coming. I'm also right now, as I'm back in Canada, the past couple weeks, and I see the jungle behind you. I'm like, yes, keep giving me that jungle energy.
I know I can't believe you're not here. Sometimes I feel very lost because we have been hanging out so much and we have our girls who are exactly almost the same age and they just are so adorable and they have gotten so close this year. And yeah, we spent a lot of time together. So we miss you in this town.
Yeah, I think this is one of the coolest things about like finding community in a space like Costa Rica and like we have like our daughters, I feel like just became almost like sisters right away, like our daughters just got so close and then you and I got to meet and then we get to hang out all of the time and I've met so many fascinating people living in Costa Rica, and very much with similar you know, ideas, values, like mindset, like on an entrepreneurial journey as well. And so, yeah, what a gift it is to be able to have our families and babies living in the jungle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the most incredible things that I love about the jungle is meeting people that are on the same vibration and the same kind of mindset. And it always blows my mind the people that I meet. Um, and it's so incredible to have that sense of community. I feel like I was trying so hard to create that for my children when I was in Canada. Not that you can't do that in Canada, but I just came here and it just happened for us, which is really beautiful.
Yeah, like it's almost like easy. Like my experience with moving to Costa Rica and like spending so much of our life there is like things just like feels like naturally unfold. And this is why I think I always find it fascinating the people that I meet there because people always ask me like, how did you end up in Costa Rica? And it was really, I mean, I'm gonna say by accident, but also with intention. And I had literally like wrote in my journal and forgot that I had wrote in my journal when I was pregnant with my daughter, who's like now turning 8, like this vision of us living on the beach and living in the jungle. And like I could see it all and feel it all. And then I kind of put it away. Like I didn't even really think about it. And a year later, I was on the beach in Costa Rica starting to write my book. And so I was going through old journals and I found this journal entry from like June 2016. And I was like, it literally detailed out the life that I was living, and I couldn't even remember writing it.
Oh my God, wow, that's so cool. That's so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
It's like the
incredible.
magic, the magic
It's
of the universe, the magic of the jungle.
yeah, I think that this land is very sacred and it holds a lot of magic. And yeah, that story reminds me that when I first came here because of Blue Spirit and I was teaching yoga and all that, I used to see all these Tico kids all naked on the beach and all tanned with their kind of blondish hair. And I was like, oh, it would be so nice to raise children here. And I looked back at my kids this year and I was like, oh my God, did I manifest this? I think I did
Yeah.
accidentally.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Just like the freedom of the babies on the beach. And that was us that first year we moved there. Sloan was like 4 months old at the time that we first moved there. And my son was 2.5. And literally the town called us like the tan family because we just spent like all day, every day on the beach and just like, yeah, just like immersed in life.
Amazing. Took it all in.
Yeah.
Oh, well, um, today I was hoping to talk to you a little bit about success because, I got to um, know you really well this year. And what I love about you, Jaclyn, is that you're so humble and down to earth and like you just come across as this your authentic self. And at the same time, you are so successful in your business and you help entrepreneurs really reach that next level of themselves. And I'm just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that. Like, how do you do that? How do you, because, how do you balance that authenticity and,
Well, honestly, like one thing that I really feel about success and about money is that, I think people often have this idea that money changes who we are. And so there's a lot of, and it's so crazy because often my clients, like I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of female leaders, and like the thing that they want in their life is more success, more impact, like more abundance, more wealth creation. And yet there's oftentimes this like fear of success that's kind of hiding there. It's like this fear because of the idea that money changes you or people perceive money changes. There's almost this like resistance to success, and success is the big desire. Um, that, for me, my experience has been like success and money has just amplified that I already am. And so it's I love like I didn't I am so who I am. And I often will say this, like even when I'm leading programs and my in-person experiences in Costa Rica, I'm like, I'm just like a barefoot gate and hello. And that I am like just who I am. And so I often joke about this with my clients. It's that I'm like, showing up and leading and speaking my truth and leading how I lead with this like barefoot, salty hair, millionaire vibes. And so it really is this like wealth and success has just amplified who I already was, who I already am. And so money and success doesn't change you unless you allow it to change you, unless make it mean anything. But for me, it's always been like I just get to give more in the sense like the more money that I create, the more success I create, the more I get to share my voice, the more I just stand in my truth unapologetically, the more I get to create and give and experiences I get to create for my family, for my clients, for my extended family. Like this year, even in Costa Rica, like getting to invite my three nephews to come and experience the jungle and travel in, something that they've never had the opportunity to experience in their life. And so I like truly feel that money in the hands of women, money in the hands of, women and leaders and creators, really in the hands of creators is like so good for the world because I feel like we're here already with a giving spirit. We're here to create impact in like the most beautiful ways. And the more, this is part of my passion of helping female leaders in their business is like, I know that the more wealth they create, the more magic we're all creating and receiving in the universe as well.
wow, I love that. I just want to repeat what you just said there. There's so much goodness there, but you said money amplifies who I already am. And I think that's really important to remember because I think most people, mostly women, have this fear of success and fear of what happens to me if I have money. And it could be a subconscious fear and they're not even aware of it. And it comes out
Exactly.
as, uh, you know, um, just jealousy, or it comes out as like, oh my gosh, no, I don't need money. I'm just good the way I am, or I'm humble this way and I like it. Um, and it doesn't have to be like that. You can still be humble and you can still be generous and giving. Any more you have, that's just going to amplify who you truly are. And I think that's really important to remember.
Yeah, like the more I have, the more I give, the more, and like this is how I feel about everything. It's like the more I own my voice and the more unapologetic I am about the things I have to say, like the more I actually have to say, like the more truth that comes forward from within me, the more that I get to bring to the world as well. And one of my things that I really believe is that we're all here to be the fullest expression of who we are during this lifetime. And the more that I'm willing to be the full expression of who I am, the more I give you the permission to be the full expression of who you are, the more you are the full expression of who you are, the more you give me the full, the permission to be the full expression of who I am. And so when we lead with this energy, like I'm a creator and you're a creator, and I see myself in my power and I see you in your power, like we're so uniquely different and like so much the same in the way of like that in which we get to create.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And in your coaching practice, I wonder, as you see women kind of go beyond their definition of success, probably like they have this goal and they cannot even imagine going beyond that, and you have this way of coaching them through that. Do they like what happens in that process? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, one of the big things for me is bringing people back. Like my mentorship is all about bringing you back inward within yourself. So like going in to find your truth, like your authentic voice, like your sacred wisdom, because I believe we all have it. Like I don't believe that there's anyone, that needs to be put on a pedestal or there's this like certain gurus. Like we all have the sacred wisdom within us. So my mentorship is to guide you in that and finding that and then activating your voice so that you're willing to like stand in conviction of who you are and speak it and share it with the world. And in that process, I would say as well, oftentimes it's where I start to see, the limitations that we often put, like myself included. It's like, where are the limitations in our energy field? Where are we not actually opening up and being available for more? And I see two big things with women, especially. And one I'd love to share. It's about like what I call the giving and the receiving channels. And the other is really in tapping into the field of potentiality. Like we tend to like to play it safe, like to stay in the realm in which we know. And I see this even in creation. It's like, as you said there about the goals, it's like there's this one pathway that I think many of us have been taught to follow. And it's like set the goal and then like backtrack from there. And here's the mile markers. And as long as you hit like each mile marker, you're going to get towards the goal. And I see this very visually. It's like this pathway is paved. It's very much like, okay, you can just put it on cruise control. You can drive towards that destination, hit each mile marker, and you're going to end up where you end up and that at that level of success. Now, the thing with that is I work with a lot of women who have achieved success in that way. And they're like, okay, I've got here. And now what? Like, it's not actually fulfilling me. It's not what I thought it was going to be. Like, I've like, check, 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 check all the things off the box. But there just feels like there's like this piece missing or that there's something more. And so what I really do with my clients is invite them to go down this other pathway that is so uncomfortable to go down because it's unknown. This is like, so you've got the paved highway over here, and then you've got this bumpy, windy jungle road, let's say. The jungle road that's like, it's bumpy. You can't see around the corner. And every part of you wants to be like, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to go down this road when I can go down this nice, easy pathway. But it's like this road that we go down. And when I say it's like bumpy and it's windy and it's twisty and it doesn't really make sense, but there's also this soul nudge, the soul calling to go this way. And when we hit the bumps, it's like where we're willing to do that in our work, where we see the limitation in our energy field. Like all of a sudden, it's like sometimes we feel like we're going sideways and backwards, but we're twisting and turning, and it's not even clear because we don't see the how, but we end up far beyond that where we ever could have went with our like human control and our human fingers touching everything. And so it's so much about surrendering the how, like surrendering and allowing those soul nudges to guide you. And yes, you can have that bigger vision but for me it's been like when I'm willing to move and not like in the in the unknown, in the unseen. It's like I don't need to see what comes next, and I trust that the next piece of the puzzle is going to be revealed to me, is going to be given. Well, that to me is where like the real magic happens, because it's like I'm not in control from like a human level, and it's like I'm allowing my soul to guide. I'm allowing my soul to lead.
Wow, that is so profound. I love that.
And
Allowing
the
your soul.
other
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other piece that I want to touch in, because this is like so much of the work that I do with my clients too, and it's really like, you know, untangling these energies. And so most of us, like if I ask you right now, we've heard like the more you give, the more you get. And so what I see in business a lot is these formulas that get created. Well, because I've done this, now I can receive this. Because I've given this for free, I can receive in this way. Because I've done XYZ, then I can, create this. And so it creates this formula in our energy field that where it's like, okay, X plus Y equals Z. And so then you get caught up in this, X and Y tends to be in a should energy, like not even in your own choice or alignment. And we keep doing the things that's not actually expanding us, but in this feel of, well, I need to give in order to receive. And the way I see it is like there's a giving channel, there's a doing channel, and there's a receiving channel, and they're not intertwined together. And this has created so much openness, I'd say, to potentiality for me within my business as well, and so much freedom, which I think we are all here for. Like especially if you're on an entrepreneurial journey, it's because you want a sense of freedom. But then we create these businesses that don't feel free in our energy field. It feels constricted. It feels contracted because we think like I have to do this and then I have to do that in order to have that next level of success or have that client say yes or have that money come in. And for me, it's like, I give because I give. I give freely. I receive freely. I do because I do. I receive because I'm a child of the universe, a child of God. Like I receive because I receive. Like I don't have to do anything in order to be worthy of receiving. So then when I create, last month I created this, I'm going to just say it was like this spectacular offering because I was in Florida at my mom's and I just had this idea to run this program called Belief Codes because this is so much at the core of the work that I do with clients. And I was like, oh, and it's going to be for free. And I don't do a ton of things for free in my business. Like I don't do a ton of free master classes and stuff like that. But I really had this call to offer this for free. And it was supposed to be, one 30-minute training and one 30-minute energy clearing and activation. And then on day one, I was actually driving all of our kids to school and I was coming down the mountain. I was like, oh, there's this other piece, the mountain just brings in the magic. And I was like, there's this other piece I want to talk about. And I don't want to talk about it today. So I'm like, I'm going to add a third day. So it's supposed to be like 30 minutes, 30 minutes. It ended up being like an hour, 45 minutes, another hour. And then I was like, I want to help people really integrate and embody this because this is so much about my work. I don't want you to just like get it in your mind. I want you to like shift and like it becomes your way of being and operating. And so then I opened up 3 weeks of integration in a Voxer space where people could ask me questions. And there was 700 people that registered for this offer. And I think like maybe 200 people asked me a question in this space. So everyone was also listening to like the 200 answers that I gave to everyone else. And this is like so the beauty of this is like I didn't do that in order to receive. It was like I just give because I wanted to. It was like I've created, what I've created in my life, and there's so much spaciousness and so much freedom that I can just give because I want to give, and I get to create in that way without restriction.
Wow, I love that. Beautiful. That actually reminds me, I was just talking to a friend the other day and we were talking about abundance. And he was like, well, what does abundance mean to you? I saw it and I'm like, freedom. I just want to be free. And he said, then
Yeah.
take the money out of the occasion. When we think of money, it kind of becomes a block. It's like, just give and just receive. And I love that you mentioned that about all these channels that are separate. And that just right away opens up this field of just opportunity to give and receive and not it doesn't have to be like this little thing for that little thing,
Yeah,
and
and it
that's
doesn't
how
have to.
that's
Yeah,
how
and this is like receiving in all ways. Like this is receiving in money, in success, in creative ideas, in love. It's like, where do we put in this formula? And for me, it's like if I can, it really help clients to like break down that formula so that there is no formula. That's what creates these channels. And the way I see it, it's like this pristine energy field where it's like you have so much freedom. You have freedom to receive, you have freedom to give, you have freedom to do, but then you're not like the things that I do in my business then comes from this authentic place of like doing, of alignment, not from, well, I need to do that in order to get this.
yes, so important, so important. And do
Yeah.
you
And
think go ahead.
no, I was just going to say one thing that popped in too when you talked about like the money block there. So for myself, there was this period in time before I'd been an entrepreneur for years, and before I created in this way that I have now, there was always this like, I mean, I would say I was an awesome conduit for money. I was like money in, money out, money in, money out, but it was very much like everything was month to month living. And it was like some months were like, and are we gonna like, is the money actually gonna come? And because I had created in this way for so long, and I had been in this like coaching industry and heard all about like money blocks and this and that, I spent all of a sudden, I was like, well, this is what I see in my bank account. And I was like, because it's not what I desire, there must be a money block. And so then I started to focus all my energy on like, let me find the money block. Let me find the money block. Like, what can I fix? What, like, I was like searching. And I remember having a conversation with my mentor at the time, and I was like, okay, like roll up the sleeves, like let's find this money block. Cause I just felt I'm like, I'm ready to go and I'm ready to go bigger. And there's just this money thing blocking me. And we had a conversation and she's like, so what, like, would you think this money block was? And I was like, well, actually, I don't think I have a money block, but like the evidence is showing me otherwise. Like my bank account says that I do. And she simply asked, she's like, well, how much of your energy do you spend looking for this money block? And I was like, a lot of it, like all of it. Like, I was like, because I don't see it yet. So that means like, I told myself these stories, like, I don't have what it takes. I'm not an energetic match. I'm not worthy, whatever it was. Um, and then when I like shifted, like honestly, like this sounds so simple, but when I stopped looking for the thing that was wrong, the thing to fix, when I stopped, fixating, like you just said, this person said to you, like, if abundance means freedom to you, like start experiencing freedom right now. And that again opens up the pathways and the flow. But as long as we're creating these, like, it's like I see it as we're putting these boulders in the pathway that the universe, that God has to like jump through hoops to get the money and the success to us because we're not just open to receive.
Wow, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I often say in my yoga practices, like breathing, breathe out, and just remember that it's not like you take something from the universe when you breathe in. You just take what you need. It's offered to you. There's abundant of this prana around you. You take that in and you give away what no longer serves you. And that's what our universe is made off of. And here we are like putting ourselves in these little tight boxes of it should be this way and shouldn't be that way. And the only person that I think can create these limitations and blocks is yourself.
Yeah, I 1000% agree. And as you said there, like think about just like the universe that we live in. Like you can breathe in and you breathe out. And if I breathe, I'm not taking breath and air away from you. But this is what happens with money and success. There's this like wiring within us, this like deeper coding that often says, well, if I have, she can't have. If she has, I can't have. And so I do see this often. Like I do see it with myself, in the sense of, there's been many experiences of people around me. It's like, well, if she's successful, I can't be successful. So then they almost want to like judge my success or make almost like reasons or excuses of like why I'm successful and why they're not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like because there's this lack. I mean, that just is like showing like where our own lack mentality and scarcity exists. Because what I know, and this is why, I lead my clients in this type of work all the time, is like because it's been possible for me, I know it's possible for you. It's not like because it's possible for me, it's not for you. It's like in fact the opposite.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, if you are having those feelings of limitations, or if she has it, then I can't have it, or oh, look at the house she lives in, or whatever, then that's actually a sign. That's a sign from the universe that that's what you desire. It's such a great way of like following your desires.
Well, here's the thing about desires. I feel so the way I actually like teach this in my work too is I see that there's like three levels of desire. And the first level of desire is the desire that lives in our head. It's like a head level desire. It's kind of this like I could share with you like a desire that's in my head and it's just like it's almost predictable that it's going to happen at some point in my life. It's almost like predictable that that could happen next. So people are like, if I said it to you, you're like, oh yeah, like that's a great thing to want. I can see it happening for you. It's almost like you can reach out and touch it. And people often like stay very safe in their desires. It's like, okay, that desire, like if I say I want this like a little bit more of success, like, well, you worked hard, you deserve it. That energy comes in. And then if we shift from the head level desires to the heart level desires, these are usually the desire for like more impact, but very like service based. They're like from the heart, like they feel so good. And if you tell someone else this desire, they're like, oh, that's such a beautiful thing to desire and to want for like the world and your clients and your family. Like, I really hope you get it. Like, it goes from the like, of course that's going to happen to like, oh, I hope that you get it. But, and it's like a desire you can share with anyone because it's like in this such a giving energy. And then we have like the darker level desires. And I call these like the sacral, the womb space, the pussy level desires that are like, oh my God, did she just say that word? Like you can desire at that depth, like, ooh, that's you're not supposed to talk about that. You're not supposed to say words like that. You're not supposed to talk about desires like that. You're not supposed to want that amount of money. It's like the desires that come up and they're like, is that selfish? Is it selfish for me to want that? Who am I to want that? If I told somebody else I wanted that or had that desire, would they shame me? Would they judge me? Oh my gosh, I wrote this desire in my journal and maybe I should rip up the page and burn it so no one ever sees it. It's like this level of desire. But when we allow ourselves to go to that depth of desire without shame, without judgment, without guilt, you're just basically telling God, the universe, like what you're actually available for.
Oh my gosh, that was so powerful. I mean, I do a lot of womb work with women as well to clear all the shame and all the guilt and all the stuff that we have been designed, like they have been kind of programmed into us for hundreds of years, um, to not be big, to not be a goddess, because whatever happened and the our societal ways of being and putting those limitations, especially on women, and to hear you say that these desires come from a really deep place, that really resonates with me. That's really, really cool.
Well, I know for myself, there was this point where again, I had already created a lot of success. And so there was this like, well, again, like, well, I should be like, and I was like, my life is great and I'm happy. And we were living in Costa Rica. And it's like, why, like, how can you want more than this? And, and that came up. And so it was very much like I kind of hit a plateau in my business in terms of, growth, which means like in terms of money, which means in terms of people I was reaching and impact as well, because I blocked my own, I blocked that receiving channel by not being willing to desire more because I thought it was like selfish or I thought like it made it mean something about me. And what I now know is like, I mean, truly, the more success I have, the more money I create, like the more people I'm reaching, the more I get to, the more space I have in my schedule to have podcasts, to record podcasts, to go speak on stage. And I know that I have a message within me that's meant to be shared to the masses. I know that you have a message within you that's meant to be shared with the masses because I know we all have messages and words and wisdom and magic in medicine that's like the world can benefit from. And so I started to look at it as like, if I'm holding back on me, I'm actually holding back on you.
Yeah, yeah,
And I was
exactly.
like, can we just, and this is where I'm like, can we give so freely? Can we receive so freely? Like, can we each be in this like full expression of who we are? Like that to me, I'm like, gosh, if everyone here decides to like stand in the power and the authenticity of who they are, like I'm excited to like live in that world.
Wow, me too. Me too. That will be
Yeah. And
such
I
a great world.
And I think too, when you said about guilt there, one thing that I often like to play with for myself and with my clients is like, okay, when guilt comes in, when fear comes in, instead of being like shaming ourselves for the fact that we have fear or guilt, or instead of letting the guilt or fear be the thing that limits us, like that's like, hey, stop, turn away from this. I often see guilt and fear as like, I see them both as illusions, but I see them as this like gateway to what we're ready to step into, like what's ready next for us. So it's like, okay, what if that guilt is here because there's something I'm ready to transcend? There's something within this guilt I'm ready to transmute into power instead of being like, oh, that guilt is there. Like that's where I see a lot of women falling into like shoulds and need to and have to versus being like, this guilt is actually there to like allow me to like do the work to harness my personal power to step into that next thing that I'm ready for.
Yeah. I know I often talk about uh in that moment when these fears or anxieties or guilts come up, if we actually become curious and look towards them. I'm at a point where I go, ooh, another
Right?
fear is rising up. I wonder what this one's about, you know?
Right? It's like you
Yeah,
bring
so
yourself to that edge, that precipice, and then you can choose to expand in that energy versus, and a lot of people unfortunately do choose to contract in that energy.
yes, yes, expansion, looking towards, and it's summer solstice today, I think, and it's like using the light to look towards these places of ourselves is what where expansion happens. Just holding
1000.
on and like then it just becomes, they become bigger and bigger inside of us and create disease and illness and all sorts of problems. So
Yes. Side note, I'm just gonna say I love that we've like set up to record this episode like 2 or 3 times now. And of course, it's summer solstice when we actually get to.
and a full moon.
Yeah, the best.
I know. It's like divine interference. So
Always. Always. And that right there, like, can we
always.
remember that? Like, can we remember that, well, we come here and we're human and divine. And we can get so caught up in our human agenda that we don't lean in and listen and follow our soul's agenda.
Yes, that's so, so true. And um, that brings me to the last kind of part of what I was going to ask you is, for me, I have to actually get up and every morning do a practice of some sort, a spiritual practice, or just get myself to, to the beach and go for a walk, a mindful walk, or meditate, or whatever it is, to say a prayer from the bottom of my heart that says, help me remember all the moments that my soul is here to experience so that I don't get tangled up in the everyday, surface of things. I'm
Mm.
just wondering if you can leave us maybe with one thing that you do daily to help you remember and stay on this path and stay true to yourself and follow your authenticity and everything else that is so wonderful about you.
I love that. I mean, I love that prayer that you say. And for me, I mean, there's meditation, there's prayer, but I'd say like one of my like deepest spiritual practices that's like pretty much daily for me is reading. And it's like reading from some sort of spiritual text. And it can literally be like conversations with God is one of my favorite um book series. The author of the books, Neil Donald Walsh, is my personal mentor, and I take these books wherever I go. Like when I'm traveling, they come with me, and it's literally just opening up and sometimes reading like a paragraph, like a few sentences. For me, like reading like this, like reminds me of who I am and reminds me of who we all are. And I feel like this is outside of, a lot of people, they're like, you read the same, like, because I will read the same books like over and over and over and over again. And it's like, there's just so much there to absorb. And so reading for me, like spiritual texts daily is like really powerful. And then one thing there, like I love how you said that you start your morning like this. And I've been having so many conversations with people about this just recently. And so the timing of this, I feel like there's so much emphasis put on like the morning routine. And I'm actually not a routine person. So anything that feels like I'm checking things off the box doesn't serve me because I'm like, I don't know, it becomes this thing I have to do. But I do have very natural practices I flow into. Um, but I feel like there's often so much focus on morning, and it's like, what about the end of our days? Like, what about
Yeah.
taking 2 minutes at the end of your day, 2 minutes to meditate, 2 minutes to read 2 sentences from a book, 2 minutes to write something that like it doesn't even have to be a long time, but I know that so much comes through, like is recoded when we're at the subconscious level. And so I also really feel like so we're setting ourselves up then for while we're sleeping. But I know for myself, like I meditate with both my kids at bedtime every night. And so it's like I'm in that meditation like zone and energy. And then like that gets carried through my sleeping and it also gets carried through how I start my next day. I find if I don't do that, like if I'm up, later at night or just like on my phone or doing something before bed, like I tend to have one dreams that are just weird. And then I wake up feeling like not really connected to myself. And so, one thing that I really invite people, and it's like I literally just fall asleep listening to like frequency music. So
Yeah.
it's not even like a big thing, but it's like, I mean, not a big thing in the sense of like it feels like, oh, I have to have this energy at the end of the day. But it's like, can we allow ourselves to like deeply receive when we're sleeping? I lead my clients in a lot of energy clearing and activation work. And people will often say, like, I fall asleep during it. Is that okay? And it's like, well, yeah, you're receiving at a subconscious level. So it's perfect. And so that's like always an invitation for me. It's like, yes, how do you start your day? But if you end your day a certain way, it's going to set you up for success the next day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much science now that backs that up too. There's a lot of studies that show whatever you're doing, that last bit before falling asleep, actually our brains fall into the theta waves. And the theta waves is like almost your, uh, you're creating that creative mode. Your
Yeah.
subconscious mind is active. So whatever you're doing at that point, that is what it's going to be. Your brain is going to be doing the whole night. Your brain continues to create that. So I often, yeah, recommend to my clients to have a morning routine and a nighttime routine. Thank you so much for mentioning that. And just even if it's just a small thing, like you said, listening to vibrational music or meditation, or we do a lot of yoga nidra in my work, and just falling asleep to that so that your brain is that it has this beautiful work to do while you sleep, not interrupted and
Yeah.
especially if you just fall asleep watching TV and the advertisers know this. So it's like the images are so slow and like
Yeah.
it's so beautiful and it's all going into your subconscious mind and literally, programming you to buy these products. So it's really great to use that for something beneficial.
Yeah, and it's so wild because as you're talking there, I even remember, so for a lot of years I worked in the hospitality industry too, and that feels like another lifetime ago. But I remember like I'd work until like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes and would go home and just go to bed. And then it's like in the middle of the night, I'm having like dreams about serving clients. And I'm like, this is so annoying. But it's like you're just because I didn't give myself any time to like wind down or like go back inward. It's like if we're just so outward so much as humans. It's like we're always on, we're always out, we're busy, we're doing, and then we stay in that energy while we're sleeping. And it's like, can we, connect to ourselves throughout
Yeah.
the day, at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, but like, I mean, all throughout the day, please connect to yourself. But I think it's really extra important as we like end our day and start our day.
I love it. Absolutely. Love that. Okay, so thank you so much. This was such a beautiful conversation, and I'm sure that we will meet again and have more conversations as we go.
I I can't wait for it. Thank you. Thank you. Like, yes, I'm so happy that this time arrived for us to record.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't wait to see what we will create also in the jungle next year when we're together again.
Let's see.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jaclyn. I'm gonna leave all Jack's information below this podcast. So if you'd love to check her workout, please head over to her website and we will see you again soon.